Well, hi, thanks for joining my shop. I'm continuing to change capacitors, and I'm afraid most of the easy ones are done now. Now it's some real toughies. So, in this case, way back in here, way back under, right up against the bottom of the chassis is a capacitor. And just to make it doubly worse, there's two of them right back up in here. Let me give you a closer. Okay, so you can barely see it. It's way up in here. It's running this way, and the other one is way down in here. So I mean, I can barely see these things, let alone where they're connected. Let's see. Oh, good. First of all, one end is connected to ground, connected to the chassis. So that might give me an opportunity to put the capacitor in a different position, as much as there's a bit of a risk in doing that. That looks... Now, where's the other end of it go? Let's see. Let's see if I can find it even. A little more light. Now my camera's on autofocus, so it's going to do its own thing here. There, it's underneath the red wire and that brownish colored wire. You can just see it coming out there, but where the heck does it go? You know, it must almost certainly go up to this coil. This great big coil here. This big coil. And how am I supposed to get back in there? Holy smokes. Now, and it's wedged right under the switch here. Literally wedged under there. I kind of get a look at the wire from this angle. And it disappears out of view here. Oop. I do some trouble getting the light in the right spot too. Okay. So there it is, believe it or not. I'll put it just about dead center of the screen now is a piece of wire, a little short stub of it. And where is it going? You can see the cracked rubber around that screw fitting there. Is that where it's connected? I can't see. Can't see with the cameras. Let's see what I can do with my eyeballs here. I could nip the bottom of the capacitor and try, wiggling it around to see if I can see better where it goes, but man, my. Holy schmoly. Maybe if I look up, kind of look up from underneath. Oh yeah, that's the way. Okay, I can see it now. Finally. Just angle my camera here. Okay, so there's the two of them. Ugly looking critters, aren't they? And see that twisted piece of wire? That's from those two 0.05 capacitors that were paralleled. I replaced them with that way over here. So luckily that cleared out this whole area here. I can get at these other capacitors now. And you can see between the two capacitors there's actually a braid. See, the braid goes up, and if you, it actually connects to a leg of the tuning capacitor to ground it very solidly against the chassis. Now, if my camera will oblige us by focusing, there it goes. Smokes. I can see the other one from here really clearly. It so there's the capacitor, dead center of the screen. You can see a wire, the wire lead, like a little crack in the end of it there. You can see a wire lead coming out, it's covered, and it goes to that. It goes to that. I mean, hang on a second here. Let's use all my new video capability here. I've lost sight of it. Okay, there it is. Okay, so this might not go so well, but here it is, right here, and the lead comes down and goes there. So now you're watching it goes to here, this thing here, and the lead is going right up here, and that's quite accessible. The other end of it, the two capacitors, one here, and they're connecting to the chassis down here. Now, see with this top, man, it's right there. It's right there. And it connects. I really can't get it on camera, but just one of these lugs here, one of these, like a lug like this, it's connecting at the back in here somewhere. That one is really hard to access. Maybe this angle might actually show it a little better. See, the thing is, if I reach in there with my cutters and cut the wrong wire, it's not the end of the world. It's not that easy to solder it back together. There's no stretch or play in the wire. There it is. Now you can see it quite clearly going up here and connecting and back there, which is hard to see, but somewhere back here it's connecting. Okay, that's the process, I think. Ooh. I had to squat down to do that. Oh, I love the look of this when you look up like that. The towering coils. They are pretty impressive, even when you see them with your own eyes. Yeah. Okay, so I think what we can do here, we got to go back to the hard one first. I got to nip it somehow. I can't even get my cutters in there. Um, if I could bridge a capacitor around it, how am I ever going to do this? How am I ever going to do this? I'm just trying another camera attachment here. Let's see if this will work. I need a large clip. Well, interesting idea. Clip the camera right on the light here. But I'm not going to do it right at the moment. No, at the moment we've got to get busy on those. If I can't pop them out, I can't read what's written on them to get the value. So I can pretty well guess what it is, though. It's one of these. 0.05. Wow, I'm really stuck. Now what about loosening off this coil and letting it drop out a bit? I could probably get some benefit out of that. I could probably they appear to be just held by screws right in the top here. But what if I'm wrong? I loosen that off and I can't retighten it after. Because there's actually a nut. Now how would a nut ever be up there? I'm in a quandary. Let's try loosening that, because I really think I need every little bit of space here, and I can try loosening and tightening it right away. No, it tightens right up. Okay, so we're going to take this out. Doesn't feel like a lot of play in it. I'm already bending it kind of into even a worse position here. Oh, I don't like doing this. Okay. So I gained a tiny nothing. I gained nothing from doing that. Let's see, I could cut that wire back there close to the capacitor, way in the back, and try to bring it out a little bit so I can solder onto it, because I think I can get a soldering iron down this way. Just can't get it in all the way. I certainly can't get it onto this level back. There's no hope of that. I have to take this whole thing out. Yikes. Not my idea. Hey, here's something quite interesting right here. Have a look at this little guy thing here. See the wire there? It's a red wire. And wrapped around it is another piece of wire, maybe 20 wraps, and there's the end of it. The end is just sitting here. It doesn't go anywhere. And it's connected back and connected up into these trimmers. So this is a really crummy transformer. Primary is the internal conductor of the red wire, and the secondary is this. And even though it's not connected at the far end, there's enough, whatever it is, capacity, inductance, I don't know what's going on in here exactly, that it has a significant influence in the circuit. That's why they're doing it there. You see that fairly common, fairly often in radios. And sometimes it's as subtle as a piece of straight wire going nowhere. If you're ever working on a radio and there's a piece of wire in there, especially involved in the RF circuits, and it just seems to run 2, 3, 4 inches and then come to an end. Don't cut it out. And wire is almost certainly there for a very specific reason. And so anyway, it'd be interesting to look at that on the schematic too. And we might end up doing that because I may have to study where these parts are actually located on the schematic. But for now, okay, so the trick would be to get the cutters in there. Get the cutters in there. Wow. Wow. Okay. I've got myself another couple millimeters there. Man. And I might be able to get the capacitor out through the top too. So let's try nipping that wire and just see how close I can get these cutters in there. I don't want to have to undo a whole bunch of stuff to get at it. This is the I need some kind of really fancy cutting tool, like you know, a tree trimmer. You know, you stand on the ground, you have this long-handled tool, and at the very end is the branch cutter, and you got a rope to activate, rope and lever to activate the branch cutter, and you can cut branches, you know, 10 feet above your head. I need something like that, only on a miniature scale in here. Ooh, that's close. Not close enough. None of those wires have play. Oh man, how am I going to do this? How am I ever going to do this? Oh, I'm almost there. Cutters in there, but they're just to the left of the target wire here. Now, the problem too is the wire's running this way, and my cutter blade's coming up like this, so I'm not going to cut much. So I got to somehow get it like that and cut it, and I want to cut it as close to the capacitor body as possible. Could lift this wire out of here. I would, you know, that wire's flexible. Excuse me. Where's my coffee? I think I left it upstairs. Hey, another cold day here, but not as cold as others. Still below freezing. Just below. I apologize for that. What if I can get a grip with a pair of pliers and rip it out of there? That's not a good idea. Wow, these get so close. They're grabbing nothing. Okay, suppose I put it right in place and just pry my way in there where it needs to go. Now, I think this would be analogous to certain kinds of medical surgery, where in order to get access to wherever it is the doctor wants to perform the surgery, he's got to do a whole bunch of other things on the way in. Each one of them introducing more and more risk to the patient. I'm very past it there. Okay, so maybe I can reach in with a pair of my needle nose pliers and kind of bend that wire into a position where I can cut it. I think that's probably got to be Way to go. Hey, that's pretty good. Hey. Okay, now let's try that. Okay, dead center of your screen. Draw a little line on it. That's the wire right there. That's the wire. Let's see if I can get them. Oh. Meanwhile, I've knocked the insulation off another red wire, which means I'm exposing a high voltage wire. Hey, I got something here. Oh, something got cut. Yeah, it's the right wire. Ooh, a lot of work for cutting one wire, eh? So now I'll cut the bottom of that capacitor because I certainly can't get confused about where it goes. Cut it and get it out of there. Ooh, careful, there's more down there than a capacitor. Careful, man. Use caution at this point. Because hidden from view, running right beside the capacitor that I'm going to cut free, is that braided wire. And if I'm not careful, I'll cut the braided wire. Holy jeez. I'm going to have to cut the other capacitor first, swing it out of the way. Oh, it's another one where you can't get the cutters in. Can't do that. Back to what we were doing. Oh man. If I go to cut that other lead on the capacitor, I've cut one lead from, I'll cut that braided wire with it. It's not the end of the world. It's just another piece of work. I don't really want to. Here, I got it. I got it. Okay, that should drop this ugly capacitor out of the way. There you go. He's out of the way. Now I can see more clearly what's going on up there. Okay, so again, if you look hard, the braid is coming right down here, gets tight to the capacitor and connects there. And I gotta somehow get my cutters in between them right in this area here and not cut the braid. I don't want to cut the braid. Don't cut the braid. Don't kill the whales. Don't cut the braid. You know what? I can probably pull the braid away a little bit. If I just... It's pretty tight in here. Wow, it's tight like a... Oh, it's tightened up because I've moved that big coil over a little bit, and that tightened this braid up. Right up against the capacitor. Rawr! Okay, maybe I can move the capacitor a little bit. Oh. It's pretty captive in there, I have to admit. Okay, maybe if we pour lots of light onto the topic. I get my light going here. Oh, that's helpful. Okay, I think I can go straight in. There's a whole bunch of useless wire in there. In fact, you know what? Well, I was going to say I could desolder that whole thing. But of course the braid would come free too. Now mind you, this is a much easier area to get the... and my light. They bought a $2 light, and that's exactly what it's worth. $2. A $2 LED light here. Okay, here's one unnecessary piece of wire. Oh, it leaped right out. Leaped right out onto my bench. That was what was left of the other capacitor lead wire. Now, I have to slip the cutters past that little piece of braid. And get it right there. There it goes. That's what my chiropractor used to say when he cracked my back. I say, there it goes. Yeah, I think I could pull that. Oh, maybe not. Pull it right out of there. Yeah, pull it towards the front here. And up. I think I can get it out through here. I have to get a really good grip on it. And I just got a little tiny tail of wire hanging there. Oh boy, I gotta grab it really hard. Didn't work. Okay, we're gonna push from below. Yeah. Almost got it there. I can't believe it. I really looked at this the other day and I thought, oh my god, that's impossible. But I found nothing's impossible. It just takes more and more time to get done. That's really what the consequence of these things. I could use a little bit of a lever here to really put some power to it, so I gotta be careful of that. I don't power it into something. Hey, look at. Hey, thank God. 0.05, just as I guessed. You monster. 0.05. And I've been pretty smart about it because I've now allowed myself the opportunity to put a replacement in there, because I left that little leg of wire out, which I could never solder to the actual post in there. Now, the other capacitor, I'm going to leave it where it is. The other one also goes to a coil post down here, but it's much more accessible. In fact, it's really quite accessible. Okay, so we need a couple, need probably 2.05s, need one anyway. Let me get it. I've got an axial 0.05, and then I got one of these guys. That's my last axial 0.05. I have lots of these guys. So can this guy be made to work for me? Well, interestingly enough, there is an opportunity to make a ground connection right here, right up against the coil. Oop. Let me show you that. So rather than use the chassis ground directly, I could take a shortcut. Where's my pencil pointer? So that's the wire right there. That where the end of my pencil is where I need to solder one lead. The other lead could go down to this ground point way down under. Or see the braid right here? The braid is actually connected. Oh, look at that short circuit ready to go. Oh man, look at that. See that red wire? You know, red means B plus usually. And see this? This is ground. And look at the insulation is gone. Oh man, that's bad news. Bad news. Where's that wire run? Oh, that red wire runs over here. Oh, it goes right into the back again. Son of a gun. So that's not a wire worth replacing there. It's not easy to replace. Push it away a little bit. Ooh. Yes, the thrill of working on old radios. The The insulation can be so brittle on these wires that any flexation and a chunk will pop right out because it's ready to go anyway. You can see that's what's happened here. Don't know exactly when it went, but that can happen out of sight in behind components, and wiggling big things around like this big coil can move the wires just enough. The clearance is gone. Like, look at this thing. Look at the clearance here, or lack of clearance. And that's probably because I just moved this coil a little bit. Wow, look at that. It is actually in contact. So that's the kind of stuff that when you work on a radio, you can introduce these things and not even know you've done it. And so consequently, when you go to test the radio after making some improvements, it's not an improvement, leaving you scratching your head. And that's kind of where I am with this radio. Okay, so back to that capacitor. So I don't see any reason why we can't utilize. I mean, there's lots of ground opportunities there. Now you might say, well, why did they use the one they used before? And the answer is, it's pretty simple. The length of the capacitor. It's got to sit in there somewhere. So, I mean, you have to physically fit these things in. Doesn't mean where the capacitor is grounded is a particularly important grounding point. At least I don't think so. Okay, so I've convinced myself I have other opportunities. Now, maybe there's even a better opportunity yet. Like, look, this terminal is going right to ground right there. That's an easy one for me to put in. I think that's what I'm going to do. I can put it here, solder it in, make it solid, and then fish the rest of it down onto this bare wire, get it on there. I can even slide a little insulation up on that bare wire. Hey, that's a really good idea. Okay, these are all good ideas. I'm going to do them. Nothing like a little bit of play. Now, if you wonder why the lights keep going on and off in my shop, they aren't. That's the camera adjusting for varying light levels. And it frankly, it's clumsy. It's clumsy on focus, and it's clumsy on the light level thing. So, okay, so you can see how much frustration I'm saving myself by grounding this capacitor at a more select location than the one it was originally grounded at. I'm saving myself major headaches here. Major. Now, hope my soldering iron's all hot. Should be. Plenty hot. That's nice and hot. And we'll just solder this guy here. Wow, this is actually going to be an easy replacement compared to what we were facing earlier. Okay, so here's a bit of this black insulation here. Came off another wire somewhere. I just slip it on there. A little too long. I thought, if anything, it was going to be too short. Because this wire is also passing right by that braid. There we go. So that's the end of the wire right there. Now that capacitor was laid right close to the chassis, and I'm a little worried the one I'm putting in is way up in space here. So I think I can get it close to the chassis if I just go up in behind here. You know, I don't have any consequence at all. It could be the other capacitor was close to the chassis because that was a good place to tuck it. Nothing to do with electrical or electronic effects. But I can get this one down there. Actually, it's almost preferable to be down there. Yeah. Oh man, I got it. I got it hooked on there. Must have been a little burr on the end of the cut of the other wire. Kind of like a fish hook. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. There we go. I can't believe it, we did that. Okay, and any reason why we should keep that coil out? I don't think so. Let's put the coil back as soon as I find the screw. Why did I set the screw right here? I need to break the video anyway at this point, so I'm going to do that and find the screw and carry on here.